He laughed in her face the day he threw her out. 5 years later, he saw her again, and his blood turned to ice. She wasn't broken. She was a storm. And the two little girls holding her hands, they had his eyes. He had abandoned her pregnant. He never knew. Now she's back, CEO of a rival empire, powerful, untouchable. And she's about to reveal the secret that will destroy everything he built. This is the story of the man who lost everything, because he never knew what he had. The rain fell like broken glass over the streets of Manhattan. Inside the glass tower, the most exclusive business venue in the city, the air smelled of power and expensive cologne. Men in tailored suits moved like shadows. Women in silk dresses smiled with calculated grace, but none of them mattered. Not to him. Kang Ji-hoon stood at the center of the room like a king surveying his kingdom. 32 years old, 6 feet of cold authority, sharp jawline, eyes darker than midnight, a face carved by legacy and ruthlessness. He was the head of the Kang family, the most feared underground empire on the East Coast. His name was whispered in boardrooms and back alleys alike, and tonight, he was here for business, a merger, a deal worth billions. But his mind wasn't on the contracts, it was on her, the woman who had just walked through the glass doors. Time stopped. The room blurred. His chest tightened in a way he didn't understand. She wore a white silk dress that flowed like water. Her hair was pulled back in a sleek, low bun. Her skin glowed under the chandeliers. Her eyes, dark, calm, unreadable, swept across the room, and then they landed on him. For a moment, the world held its breath. Ji-hoon's pulse hammered. He knew that face. Amara, his ex-wife, the woman he had destroyed 5 years ago. The woman he had humiliated, discarded, and forgotten. But this wasn't the woman he remembered. That woman had been soft, gentle, naive. This woman was steel wrapped in elegance. Behind her, 2 bodyguards in black suits flanked her like silent sentinels. And then, Ji-hoon's breath caught. 2 small hands appeared, gripping hers. 2 little girls stepped into view, 4 years old, matching white dresses, hair tied in delicate braids, identical, beautiful, and impossibly heartbreakingly familiar, because they had his eyes. The same sharp gaze, the same quiet intensity, the same shadow in their expression. Ji-hoon felt the floor tilt beneath him. No, it wasn't possible. Amara's gaze met his across the room. She didn't smile. She didn't flinch. She simply looked at him the way one looks at a stranger. And then she turned away, as if he were nothing. 5 years earlier. The divorce had been brutal, not because of love lost, but because Ji-hoon had enjoyed it. He had stood in the marble hall of his family estate, hands in his pockets, watching Amara sign the papers with trembling fingers. "You were a mistake," he had said coldly. "A distraction I no longer need." She had looked up at him with tears streaming down her face. "Ji-hoon, please, don't embarrass yourself," he had replied. "You got what you wanted, a life of luxury. Now leave before I make you." She had walked out with nothing, no money, no protection, no dignity, and Ji-hoon had laughed because he had won. He always won. But now she stood in front of him like a goddess carved from vengeance. And those 2 little girls, his daughters, he didn't need a DNA test to know. He could see himself in every line of their faces. Amara moved through the crowd with grace and precision. Investors greeted her with respect. CEOs shook her hand. She smiled, a smile that didn't reach her eyes, and spoke in a voice like calm before a hurricane. She was no longer the woman he had broken. She was the woman who had risen from the ashes. Ji-hoon's second-in-command, Minho, appeared at his side. "Boss," Minho said quietly. "That's Amara Ose, CEO of Ose Global Enterprises. They've been acquiring assets across the East Coast for the past 2 years. Rumor is they're planning a hostile takeover of several underground-linked corporations." Ji-hoon's jaw tightened. "And the children?" he asked, his voice dangerously low. Minho hesitated. "No public records. No father listed. She's kept them completely off the radar." Ji-hoon's hands curled into fists. She had hidden them, from him, from the world, his daughters. Across the room, Amara felt his gaze burning into her back. She didn't turn. She wouldn't give him the satisfaction. Her daughters, Zara and Amani, looked up at her with wide, curious eyes. "Mommy," Zara whispered. "Who's that man?" Amara's heart twisted, but her face remained calm. "No one, sweetheart," she said softly. "Just someone from a long time ago." Amani frowned. "He's looking at us." "I know," Amara replied, "but we don't look back." Because looking back meant remembering, and remembering meant feeling, and feeling was the one thing she could no longer afford. Ji-hoon moved. He crossed the room in long, deliberate strides. People stepped aside. Whispers followed. Amara felt him approach. She stiffened, but she didn't run. He stopped 3 feet away, close enough to see the faint scar on her wrist, the one she'd gotten the night she left, close enough to smell her perfume, close enough to hear the barely perceptible hitch in her breath. "Amara," he said. His voice was low, controlled, but underneath, there was something raw, something dangerous. She turned slowly. Her expression was ice. "Mr. Kang," she said politely. "It's been a long time. Mr. Kang, not Jihoon, not the man she had once loved, a stranger." His eyes dropped to the 2 little girls holding her hands. Zara and Amani looked up at him with wide, unblinking eyes. Identical. Perfect. His. "Who are they?" he asked quietly. Amara's smile was cold. "My daughters. And their father?" Her gaze didn't waver. "None of your concern." Jihoon's jaw clenched. "Amara, if you'll excuse me," she interrupted smoothly. "I have a meeting." She turned and walked away. The twins followed, glancing back once at the tall, dark man who watched them like a ghost haunted by the living. Jihoon stood frozen. His heart pounded. His mind raced. She had carried his children, raised them alone, hidden them from him. And now she was here, in his world, in his city, with an empire at her back and a truth that could destroy him. Minho appeared again. "Boss," he said carefully, "what do you want to do?" Jihoon's eyes darkened. "Find out everything," he said coldly. "Every detail. Every move she's made in the last 5 years. And if she's planning something against us?" Jihoon's lips curved into a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Then I'll remind her who I am." Because Kang Jihoon didn't lose. Not twice. Not to anyone. Not even to the woman who had once been his wife. Amara didn't sleep that night. She stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows of her penthouse, staring out at the city lights like scattered diamonds. Behind her, Zara and Amani slept peacefully in their shared bedroom, curled together beneath soft blankets. Innocent. Safe. Unaware. Amara's reflection stared back at her in the glass. 33 years old. Strong. Successful. Untouchable. But inside she was still the 28-year-old woman who had stumbled out of Jihoon's mansion with nothing but a shattered heart and a secret growing in her womb. She closed her eyes. Breathed. You are not that woman anymore. She had built an empire from ashes, created a life from ruins, and she had done it alone. No help. No mercy. No forgiveness. Her phone buzzed. A message from her assistant, Lena. "He's asking questions. Kang's people are digging." Amara's jaw tightened. Of course he was. Jihoon never let anything go, especially not control. She typed back, "Let him dig, he won't find what he's looking for." Because Amara had learned long ago how to disappear, how to erase herself, how to rise again under a new name, a new identity, a new power. Osei Global Enterprises was hers, built with sweat, blood, and sleepless nights. And no one would take it from her, not even the man who had once held her heart in his hands and crushed it. Across the city, Jihoon sat in his private study. The room was dark except for the amber glow of a single desk lamp. Files were spread across his desk. Photos, financial records, news articles. Everything Minho had been able to gather on Amara Osei in the last 6 hours. And it was impressive. Osei Global Enterprises had appeared seemingly out of nowhere 3 years ago. Started with a single investment firm in London, then expanded rapidly across Europe and the United States. Now it was a billion-dollar conglomerate. Real estate, tech, pharmaceuticals, and all of it led by her, a woman who had once been a nobody, a woman he had discarded like trash. Jihoon's fingers drummed against the desk. How? How had she done it? And more importantly, why had she come back? Revenge? Power? Or something else? His gaze fell on a photograph. Amara at a charity gala 6 months ago. She wore a black gown, hair swept over one shoulder, smile polite but distant, and beside her, 2 little girls in matching dresses, Zara and Amani. Jihoon stared at their faces, his daughters. He had abandoned them before they were even born. And now they were strangers, beautiful, perfect, strangers. A sharp pain twisted in his chest. He had never wanted children, never believed in legacy beyond power. But seeing them, seeing her, something inside him had cracked. Minho entered the room quietly. "Boss," he said, "we have a problem." Jihoon looked up. "What?" Osei Global just acquired Langford Industries. Jihoon's eyes narrowed. Langford Industries was a key supplier for several of the Kang family's underground operations. Losing them meant losing leverage, losing control. "She's making a move," Minho continued, "cutting off your resources one by one." Jihoon's jaw clenched. "She's declaring war." Minho hesitated. What do you want to do? Jihoon stood. He walked to the window, hands in his pockets, staring out at the glittering skyline. Set up a meeting, he said coldly. I want to see her, face to face. And if she refuses? Jihoon's lips curved into a dangerous smile. She won't. Because Amara had come back for a reason, and whatever that reason was, Jihoon was going to find out. The next morning, Amara received the invitation, hand-delivered, a black envelope with gold lettering, inside a single card, dinner, tonight, 8 p.m., the Sapphire Room. We need to talk. KJ Amara stared at the card for a long moment. Then she smiled, a cold, knowing smile. So it begins. She tore the card in half and dropped it in the trash. Then she picked up her phone and called Lena. Accept the invitation, she said calmly, but change the terms. I choose the location, I choose the time, and if he refuses? He won't, Amara said. He's too curious. Because Jihoon had always been predictable, arrogant, convinced that he controlled the board. But this time she held the cards, and she was going to play them perfectly. That evening, Jihoon arrived at the address Amara had sent. Not a restaurant, not a hotel, a private art gallery in Soho. Empty, silent. He walked through the dimly lit halls, past sculptures and paintings worth millions. And then he saw her, standing in front of a massive canvas. A storm painted in blacks and silvers. She wore a sleek charcoal dress, hair loose around her shoulders, no jewelry except a single diamond bracelet. She didn't turn when he approached. You're predictable, Jihoon, she said quietly. Her voice was calm, but underneath there was steel. And you're playing a dangerous game, he replied. She finally turned. Her eyes met his. Dark, steady, unflinching. I'm not playing, she said. I'm winning. Jihoon stepped closer. Why are you really here, Amara? She tilted her head. Maybe I missed the city. Don't lie to me. Her smile was slow, sharp. You want the truth? She asked softly. Fine. I came back because I'm done hiding, done running, done pretending that what you did to me didn't matter. I gave you everything. You gave me nothing, she interrupted, her voice cutting like glass. You humiliated me, threw me away, made me feel like I was worthless. Jihoon's jaw tightened. And now? He asked. Her gaze hardened. Now I'm the one with the power. And you? You're going to watch as I take everything you ever built. Silence. Heavy. Electric. Jihoon's eyes burned. And the girls? He asked quietly. Amara's expression didn't change. What girls? Don't, he said, his voice dangerously low. Don't pretend you don't know what I'm talking about. She met his gaze without flinching. They're mine, she said, not yours. You lost that right the day you destroyed me. Jihoon's hands curled into fists. I'm their father. You're a stranger, Amara said coldly, and you'll stay that way. She turned to leave, but Jihoon's voice stopped her. I won't let you take them from me. Amara looked back over her shoulder. Her smile was sad, broken, beautiful. You already did that yourself, she whispered, and then she walked away, leaving him standing alone in the gallery, surrounded by art and ghosts. Jihoon didn't go home that night. He sat in his car outside the art gallery for hours, staring at nothing. Her words echoed in his mind. You're a stranger. You already took them from yourself. He had always prided himself on control, on power, on never regretting a decision. But now he felt something he hadn't felt in years. Regret. Raw, burning, unbearable. He pulled out his phone and dialed Minho. I need everything on those girls, he said. Birth records, medical files, school enrollment, everything. Boss, are you sure? Do it. He hung up. And then he sat in the dark, thinking, planning, because Kang Jihoon didn't lose, and he sure as hell wasn't going to lose his daughters. Amara returned to her penthouse just before midnight. The twins were asleep. Their nanny, Mrs. Chen, was folding laundry in the living room. How were they? Amara asked softly. Perfect, as always, Mrs. Chen replied with a warm smile. They asked about you before bed. Amara's chest tightened. What did they say? Zara wanted to know if you were safe. Amani said she missed you. Amara closed her eyes, breathed. Her daughters were her world, her reason, her strength, and she would burn the entire city to the ground before she let anyone hurt them, even their father, especially their father. The next morning, Amara was in her office when Lena burst through the door. We have a problem, Lena said urgently. Amara looked up from her laptop. What kind of problem? Kang Jihoon just filed a paternity claim. The room went silent. Amara's blood turned to ice. What? Lena handed her a legal document. Amara scanned it quickly. Paternity claim, request for DNA testing, petition for parental rights. Her hands trembled. He can't do this, she whispered. He's a Kang, Lena said grimly. He can do whatever he wants. Amara stood. Her mind raced. This was a declaration of war, and Jihoon had just fired the first shot. She grabbed her phone and dialed a number she had sworn never to use again. Her lawyer, Victor Cross, the best family attorney on the East Coast. Victor, she said when he answered, I need you. Now. That afternoon, Amara sat across from Victor in his sleek downtown office. He was 50, sharp, ruthless, and he had never lost a case. He's pushing hard, Victor said, reviewing the documents. But he has no legal standing. The girls were born after the divorce. No father listed on the birth certificate. No prior claim. Can he force a DNA test? Amara asked. Victor hesitated. If he petitions the court, possibly. But we can fight it, drag it out, make it expensive and messy. Amara's jaw tightened. I don't want messy. I want him gone. Victor met her gaze. Then you need to give me leverage, he said. Something that proves he's unfit, dangerous, a threat. Amara was silent. She knew exactly what Victor was asking for. Proof of Jihoon's criminal empire. Proof that the Kang family was built on blood and fear. But using that.
Before you continue, you have two choices right now. Keep listening to short previews, or unlock the full story. You get 20 full episodes, exclusive audio, no ads, no interruptions. Listen anytime, anywhere. I scan the QR code on the screen now. Or click the pinned link in the comments. What was never said continues there.
That meant crossing a line she had never crossed before. I'll think about it, she said finally. Victor nodded. Don't think too long, he warned. He's moving fast, and men like Kang Jihoon don't stop until they get what they want. Amara left the office with a weight pressing against her chest. She had come back to destroy him, to take his empire piece by piece. But she had never planned for this, for him to fight back, for him to want them. That night, Amara sat with Zara and Amani at the dinner table. They were giggling over a silly joke, so innocent, so pure. Amara watched them and felt her heart crack. Mommy, Zara said suddenly, why do you look sad? Amara forced a smile. I'm not sad, sweetheart, just tired. Amani frowned. Is it because of that man? Amara froze. What man? The one at the party, Amani said. The one who looked at us funny. Zara nodded. He had scary eyes. Amara's throat tightened. You don't have to worry about him, she said softly. I'll always protect you. Promise, Zara asked. Promise, Amara whispered. Even if it meant war. Even if it meant blood. Even if it meant facing the one man she had loved and hated in equal measure. Across the city, Jihoon stood in his study, staring at a photograph. Not of Amara, of the twins, Zara and Amani, his daughters. He didn't know their favorite colors, their favorite foods, what made them laugh, what made them cry. He was a stranger to them, and it was his own fault. But he was done being a stranger. He was their father, and he was going to claim them, no matter what it took, no matter who he had to destroy. Even if that person was the woman he had once thrown away. The courtroom was cold. Marble floors, high ceilings, the scent of polished wood and old money. Amara sat beside Victor, her hands folded calmly in her lap. She wore a tailored navy suit, hair pulled back, no emotion on her face. But inside, her heart was hammering. Across the aisle, Jihoon sat with his legal team, 3 lawyers in expensive suits. He wore all black, crisp, controlled. His eyes were locked on her. She refused to look back. The judge entered, an older woman with silver hair and sharp eyes. Judge Morrison, known for being fair and ruthless. This is a preliminary hearing regarding the paternity claim filed by Kang Jihoon, the judge said, reviewing her notes. Mr. Kang is requesting a court-ordered DNA test to establish paternity of the minors, Zara and Amani Osei. Victor stood. Your Honor, my client opposes this petition on the grounds that Mr. Kang has no legal standing. He was not present during the pregnancy, birth, or the first 4 years of these children's lives. He has never provided financial support, emotional care, or any indication of parental interest until now. Jihoon's lawyer, a sharp-faced man named Callahan, stood as well. Your Honor, my client only recently became aware of the children's existence. He is seeking to establish his rights as their biological father, and to be a part of their lives moving forward. Judge Morrison looked at Amara. Ms. Osei, is it true that Mr. Kang was unaware of your pregnancy? Amara stood slowly. Her voice was steady. Yes, Your Honor. And why did you not inform him? Silence. The courtroom held its breath. Amara's gaze finally shifted to Jihoon. He stared back, unreadable. Because he made it very clear, Amara said quietly, that I was no longer part of his life. That I was a mistake he wanted to forget. Her words landed like stones. Jihoon's jaw tightened. Judge Morrison nodded. I see. She paused. Mr. Kang, do you dispute Ms. Osi's claim that you ended the marriage on hostile terms? Callahan started to speak, but Jihoon stood. No, Your Honor, he said. I don't dispute it, the courtroom murmured. Callahan looked at Jihoon in shock, but Jihoon's gaze remained fixed on Amara. I was cruel, he continued, his voice low but clear. I said things I shouldn't have. I treated her in a way that was unforgivable. Amara's breath caught. But that doesn't change the fact that those children are mine, Jihoon said, and I have the right to know them. Judge Morrison studied him for a long moment, then she looked at Amara. Ms. Ose, do you believe Mr. Kang poses a danger to your daughters? Amara's hands trembled. She could say yes. She could tell the judge about the Kang family, about the underground empire, about the blood and the fear. But if she did, if she crossed that line, there would be no going back. No, Your Honor, she said finally. I don't believe he would physically harm them. Victor turned to her sharply, but Amara's gaze was steady. Judge Morrison nodded. Then I'm granting the petition for DNA testing, she said. However, until paternity is legally established, Mr. Kang will have no contact with the minors. This court will reconvene in 30 days. The gavel struck. It was done. Outside the courthouse, Amara stood on the marble steps, breathing in the cold air. Victor was furious. Why didn't you fight harder? He demanded. We could have buried him. Because I'm not a monster, Amara said quietly. He is. Maybe, she said. But those girls deserve to know the truth, even if it's painful. Victor shook his head. You're making a mistake. Maybe, Amara repeated. But it's mine to make. She walked toward her car, but a voice stopped her. Amara. She turned. Jihoon stood a few feet away. His lawyers were gone. It was just him. I meant what I said in there, he said quietly. I was cruel. I was wrong. Amara's expression didn't change. Is that supposed to make me forgive you? No, he said. But it's the truth. She stared at him. This man who had destroyed her. This man who had given her the two most precious things in her life. You want to know them? She asked softly. Yes. Then prove it. Jihoon frowned. What do you mean? Amara stepped closer. Her voice was ice. Prove that you're not the same man who threw me away like garbage. Prove that you're capable of being a father. Prove that you're not just doing this to win. Jihoon's eyes darkened. And if I can't? Amara's smile was sad. Then you'll lose them forever. She turned and walked away, leaving him standing alone on the courthouse steps. That night, Jihoon sat in his study, staring at the DNA test kit the court had provided. A simple swab, a few seconds, and he would have proof. Legal proof. Undeniable proof. But as he stared at the small plastic tube, he realized something. DNA didn't make him a father. Being there did. Loving them did. Protecting them did. And he had done none of those things. He set the kit down and picked up his phone. He dialed Minho. I need you to find something for me, he said. What? Everything about what Amara went through after she left. Where she went. How she survived. How she built her company. Minho was silent for a moment. Boss, are you sure you want to know? Jihoon's grip tightened on the phone. Yes. Because if he was going to prove himself, he needed to understand what he had done, what he had taken from her, and what she had become in spite of him. The file arrived 3 days later. Minho placed it on Jihoon's desk without a word. It was thick, heavy, and it contained 5 years of Amara's life. Jihoon opened it slowly. The first page was a police report. Date, November 14th, 2020. Incident, woman found unconscious outside community clinic, malnourished, dehydrated, 8 months pregnant. Jihoon's blood ran cold. He kept reading. She had been living in a homeless shelter in Brooklyn. No money, no family, no one. The report noted that she had refused to give the name of the father, refused to press charges, refused help. She had simply disappeared the next day. Jihoon's hands trembled. He turned the page. Hospital records. December 3rd, 2020. Emergency C-section. Twins delivered at 36 weeks. Mother critical condition. He read the notes from the attending physician. Patient suffered severe hemorrhaging, required blood transfusion. Touch and go for several hours. Twins healthy but underweight. Jihoon closed his eyes. She had almost died. Bringing his daughters into the world. And he hadn't known, hadn't cared. He kept reading. The next section detailed her recovery. How she had left the hospital 3 days after giving birth, against medical advice. How she had taken the twins to a women's shelter. How she had worked 3 jobs while nursing 2 newborns. Cleaning offices at night. Waitressing during the day. Selling handmade jewelry online. Sleeping 2 hours a night. And somehow, She had survived. More than survived. She had thrived. The file showed her first business venture, a small investment in a struggling tech startup. She had used every penny she had saved. The startup had exploded, and Amara had used the profits to build more, and more, and more, until she had become Osei Global Enterprises, a billion-dollar empire built on nothing but will and pain and love for her daughters. Jihoon set the file down. His chest felt tight. He had done this to her. He had destroyed her, and she had risen anyway, not because of him, in spite of him. Amara received the DNA results on a Tuesday. She didn't need to open the envelope to know what it said, but she did anyway. 99.9% probability of paternity. She stared at the words for a long time. Then she folded the paper and placed it in her desk drawer. Zara and Amani were in the living room playing with building blocks, laughing, innocent, unaware that their entire world was about to change. Amara walked over and sat on the floor beside them. "Mommy," Zara said excitedly. "Look, I made a castle." "It's beautiful, sweetheart," Amara said softly. Amani frowned. "Mommy, why do you look sad again?" Amara pulled them both into her arms, held them tight, breathed in their scent. "I'm not sad," she whispered. "I'm just thinking." "About what?" Zara asked. Amara hesitated. "How do you tell your children that their father exists? That he's powerful, dangerous, and wants to be part of their lives? That he's the reason you ran? The reason you built walls so high no one could climb them? I'm thinking about how much I love you," Amara said finally. "We love you too, Mommy," Amani said, hugging her tighter. And in that moment, Amara made a decision. She would let Jihoon meet them, not because he deserved it, but because they deserved the truth, even if it broke her heart. The meeting was arranged for the following Saturday. Neutral ground, a private park on the Upper East Side. Jihoon arrived early. He wore a simple black sweater and jeans. No bodyguards, no lawyers, just him. He waited on a bench near the fountain. His heart pounded. He had faced down rival families, negotiated deals worth billions, survived assassination attempts. But this terrified him, because this wasn't about power. This was about them, his daughters. And he had no idea how to be a father. At exactly 2 p.m., Amara appeared. She walked slowly, holding the hands of two small girls in matching pink coats, Zara and Amani. They looked around curiously, wide-eyed and beautiful. Jihoon stood, his breath caught. Amara stopped a few feet away. "Girls," she said gently, "there's someone I'd like you to meet." Zara and Amani looked up at Jihoon. He crouched down to their level, tried to smile, but his throat was tight. "Hi," he said softly. Zara tilted her head. "You're the man from the party," she said. "Yes," Jihoon said. "I am." "Why were you looking at us?" Amani asked. Jihoon glanced at Amara. She nodded slightly. "Tell them." He looked back at the twins. "Because," he said slowly, "you remind me of someone very important." "Who?" Zara asked. Jihoon's voice cracked. "Me." The girls looked at each other, then back at him. "Are you our daddy?" Amani asked quietly. The world stopped. Jihoon's eyes burned. He nodded. "Yes," he whispered. "I am." Zara frowned. "Then where were you?" The question hit him like a knife. Jihoon swallowed. "I didn't know about you, but I'm here now." "Are you going to leave again?" Amani asked. Jihoon shook his head. "No," he said firmly. "Never." Zara studied him for a long moment. Then she stepped forward and held out her hand. "I'm Zara," she said, "and this is Amani." Jihoon took her small hand in his. It was warm, fragile, perfect. "It's nice to meet you, Zara," he said. "And you, Amani." Amani hesitated. Then she took his other hand. And just like that, Jihoon felt something inside him break and heal, all at once. Amara watched from a distance. Tears streamed down her face. She had hated this man for so long, but seeing him with their daughters, seeing the wonder in his eyes, seeing him try, she realized something. Hate wasn't the opposite of love. Indifference was. And she could never be indifferent to Kang Jihoon. Not after everything. Not after this. 3 months later, the city had changed. Or maybe it was just them. Jihoon stood in the doorway of Amara's penthouse, watching as Zara and Amani showed him their drawings. "This one is you, Daddy," Zara said, holding up a picture of a tall figure in black. Jihoon's chest tightened. "Daddy." The word still felt foreign on his tongue, but hearing it from them, it felt like redemption. "It's perfect," he said, crouching down to their level. Amani tugged on his sleeve. "Can you stay for dinner?" she asked hopefully. Jihoon glanced at Amara. She was in the kitchen, preparing food. Her back was to him. but he could see the tension in her shoulders, the careful distance she still kept. They weren't together. They weren't a family. Not in the way the girls wanted, but they were trying, and that was something. If your mom says it's okay, Jihoon said. Amara turned, met his gaze. For a moment, something flickered in her eyes. Something soft, something dangerous. She nodded. Dinner's almost ready, she said quietly. The meal was simple. Pasta, salad, garlic bread. The twins chattered excitedly about their day at school, about their friends, about the art project they were working on. Jihoon listened to every word, memorized every detail, because he had missed so much already, and he refused to miss another moment. Amara watched him from across the table, watched the way he smiled at their daughters, the way he asked questions, the way he cared. This wasn't the man who had destroyed her 5 years ago. This was someone else, someone softer, someone better. But she didn't know if she could trust it, didn't know if she could let herself believe. After dinner, the girls insisted on showing Jihoon their room. He followed them down the hallway, and Amara stood alone in the kitchen, washing dishes, breathing, trying to quiet the storm in her chest. Because seeing him like this, being near him like this, it was breaking down walls she had spent years building, and she didn't know if she was ready. Later that evening, after the girls had gone to bed, Jihoon and Amara sat on the balcony. The city stretched out before them like a sea of lights. They're happy, Amara said softly. They are, Jihoon agreed. Silence. Not uncomfortable, just heavy. I never thought I'd see you like this, Amara continued. With them, like this. Jihoon looked at her, really looked at her. The woman who had survived his cruelty, the woman who had built an empire from ashes, the woman who had given him the most precious gift in the world and asked for nothing in return. I never thought I'd be like this, he admitted. But they changed me. Children do that, Amara said with a faint smile. Jihoon hesitated. What about us? He asked. Amara's smile faded. There is no us, Jihoon. But there could be. She shook her head. You hurt me, deeply, and I've forgiven you for their sake, but that doesn't mean I've forgotten. Jihoon's jaw tightened. I'm not asking you to forget, he said. I'm asking you to let me prove that I'm different. Amara looked away. I don't know if I can. Then let me try, Jihoon said. Every day. For as long as it takes. She was silent for a long time. The wind moved through her hair. The city hummed below, and Jihoon waited. Finally, she turned back to him. If you hurt them, I won't. Jihoon interrupted. If you break their hearts, I won't, he repeated, his voice firm. Amara searched his eyes, and for the first time in 5 years, she saw something she hadn't seen before. Sincerity. Okay, she whispered. Jihoon exhaled. Okay, she said. But we do this slowly, for them. For them, Jihoon agreed. And in that moment, something shifted. Not forgiveness, not love, but the possibility of both. 6 months later, the King family underwent a transformation. Jihoon stepped back from the underground operations. He delegated control to trusted advisors, focused on legitimate businesses, real estate, technology, philanthropy. He wanted to build something his daughters could be proud of, something clean, something good. But stepping back came with consequences. Not everyone in the organization was happy, especially Kang Seojun, Jihoon's younger brother. Seojun had always been ambitious, ruthless, and he had always believed that the Kang Empire should be built on fear, not love. He watched Jihoon's transformation with cold, calculating eyes, and he began to plan. Amara noticed the changes in Jihoon, the way he worked less, smiled more, spent every free moment with Zara and Amani. He took them to the park, helped with homework, read bedtime stories, and slowly, very slowly, the walls between them began to come down. One evening, Amara found herself laughing at one of his terrible jokes. Actually laughing. Jihoon looked at her in surprise. What? She asked. I haven't heard you laugh like that in years, he said softly. Amara's smile faded. I haven't had a reason to. And now? She looked at him, at the man who was trying so hard, who was becoming the father their daughters deserved, who was becoming someone she could almost love again. Now, she said quietly, I'm starting to remember what it feels like. Jihoon reached for her hand. She didn't pull away. I know I can't undo the past, he said, but I want to build a future. With you. With them. Amara's eyes filled with tears. Jihoon, I love you, he said. I never stopped. I was just too much of a fool to see it. She closed her eyes, breathed, opened them again. I loved you too, she whispered. Even when I hated you. Even when I ran, I never stopped. Jihoon stepped closer. Then give me a chance, he said. Give us a chance. Amara looked at him. at the man who had broken her, at the man who had found her, at the man who had become a father, at the man who was finally worthy of love. Okay, she said, and she kissed him. Soft, gentle, hopeful. For the first time in 5 years, she let herself feel, let herself hope, let herself believe in second chances. 1 year later, Zara and Amani's 6th birthday. The penthouse was filled with balloons, laughter, and the chaos of children running wild. Friends from school, neighbors, even Mrs. Chen, who had been with them since the beginning. Jihoon and Amara stood side by side watching them. They're growing up so fast, Amara said. Too fast, Jihoon agreed. She glanced at him. You've changed, she said. So have you, Amara smiled, a real smile. Maybe we both needed to. Jihoon reached for her hand, laced his fingers through hers. I have something for you, he said. Amara frowned. Jihoon, it's the girl's birthday, not mine. I know, he said, but this can't wait. He pulled a small velvet box from his pocket. Amara's breath caught. Jihoon! He opened it. Inside was a ring, not the one from their first marriage. That one had been about power, about ownership. This one was different, simple, elegant, beautiful, a promise. I'm not asking you to forget what I did, Jihoon said quietly. I'm asking you to let me spend the rest of my life making up for it. Marry me, Amara. Not because of the girls, not because of the past, but because I love you, and I want to build a future with you. Amara's eyes filled with tears. She looked at the ring, at the man holding it, at the life they had built together, slowly, carefully, with so much pain and so much hope. Yes, she whispered. Jihoon's eyes widened. Yes? She laughed through her tears. Yes, Jihoon, I'll marry you. He slipped the ring onto her finger and kissed her, deep, real, forever. Around them, the party continued, but in that moment, it was just them, two broken people who had found their way back to each other through pain, through forgiveness, through the two little girls who had saved them both. 2 months later, the wedding was small, intimate, just close friends and family. Zara and Amani stood beside them as flower girls, beaming with pride. Amara wore a simple white dress. Jihoon wore a dark suit. And as they stood at the altar, as they looked into each other's eyes, they made promises, real promises, not contracts, not bargains, but vows. I will never let you go again, Jihoon whispered. Amara smiled through her tears. I know, she said. And they kissed. Not as enemies, not as strangers, but as partners, as equals, as family. Everything seemed perfect. For 3 beautiful months, the Kang Osei family lived in peace. Jihoon had stepped away from the darker parts of his empire. Amara's business continued to thrive. The twins were happy, healthy, and thriving in school. And for the first time in their lives, both Jihoon and Amara felt something they hadn't felt in years. Hope. But empires built on blood don't fall quietly, and shadows from the past don't stay buried forever. It started with a phone call, late at night. Jihoon was in his study when Minho burst through the door. His face was pale. Boss, he said urgently, we have a problem. Jihoon looked up. What kind of problem? Minho hesitated. It's Seojun. Jihoon's blood ran cold. His younger brother, the one who had never approved of his transformation, the one who believed power should be built on fear. What did he do? Jihoon asked quietly. Minho placed a file on the desk. He's been making moves, quietly, building alliances with the old guard, the ones who don't like the new direction. Jihoon opened the file. Inside were photographs, documents, financial records, all pointing to one thing. Seojun was planning a coup. When? Jihoon asked. Soon, Minho said. Within the next 2 weeks. Jihoon's jaw tightened. And Amara? Minho's expression darkened. He knows she's your weakness. He's already started gathering intel on her, on the girls. Jihoon's hands curled into fists.
What you've heard so far is only the surface. This story wasn't meant to be consumed in fragments. It was created to be experienced from beginning to end. When you unlock full access, you receive 20 full audio episodes and over 10 hours of immersive storytelling. It's private members-only area, not available on YouTube. No ads, no interruptions. Listen on any device, anytime. Lifetime access. And there's more. New content every week, and you can even choose the theme of the next story. But be aware, access for new members is closing. I'd scan the QR code now, or click the pinned link in the comments. What was never said continues now, if you choose to enter.
He wouldn't dare. He's desperate, Minho interrupted. And desperate men do desperate things. Jihoon stood. His mind raced. He had built a new life, a clean life, a good life, but the past was coming back, and it was bringing war. That night, Jihoon sat with Amara in their bedroom. She was reading a book, peaceful, unaware. "Amara," he said quietly. She looked up, saw the expression on his face, and her stomach dropped. "What's wrong?" she asked. Jihoon told her everything, about Seojun, about the coup, about the threat to their family. Amara listened in silence. Her face grew pale. "What are we going to do?" she whispered. Jihoon took her hand. "I'm going to protect you," he said firmly. "All of you, no matter what it takes." "Even if it means going back?" she asked. "To that life?" Jihoon's jaw tightened. "I won't let him take this from us," he said. "I won't let him destroy what we've built." Amara's eyes filled with tears. "I'm scared, Jihoon." "I know," he said, pulling her into his arms. "But I promise you, I will keep you safe." But even as he said the words, he knew the truth. The storm was coming, and this time, it wouldn't just be about power. It would be about survival. The next morning, Amara dropped the twins off at school. She kissed them goodbye, watched them run through the gates, and felt a chill run down her spine. Something was wrong. She could feel it. She pulled out her phone and called Jihoon. No answer. She called again. Still nothing. Panic began to rise in her chest. And then, a black SUV pulled up beside her. The window rolled down, and sitting in the back seat was Kang Seojun, 30 years old. Sharp features, cold eyes, a smile that didn't reach his face. "Hello, sister-in-law," he said smoothly. Amara's blood turned to ice. "What do you want?" she asked. Seojun's smile widened. "Just to talk," he said, "about the future of the Kang family. I have nothing to say to you." "Oh, I think you do," Seojun said, "especially when it concerns your daughters." Amara's heart stopped. "If you touch them, I won't," Seojun interrupted. "As long as you cooperate." "What do you want?" Amara repeated, her voice shaking. Seojun leaned forward. "I want you to convince my brother to step down," he said, peacefully, "before things get messy." "And if I refuse?" Seojun's expression turned cold. "Then I'll make sure those beautiful little girls of yours learn exactly what kind of family they were born into." Amara's hands trembled. "You're a monster," she whispered. "No," Seojun said. "I'm a Kang, and it's time my brother remembered what that means." The window rolled up. The SUV drove away, and Amara stood alone on the sidewalk, shaking, terrified, and realizing the war had already begun. The war has begun. Seojun wants the empire back, and he knows exactly how to destroy Jihoon. Through Amara and the twins, Jihoon will have to choose, return to the man he was to protect his family, or lose everything. But there's a secret no one knows. A secret Amara has hidden for 5 years. A secret that could change everything. What happens when the past refuses to die? What happens when love isn't enough? And what happens when Amara discovers that she's not the only woman Jihoon abandoned while pregnant? If you want episode 02 today, leave a comment right now. If this video reaches 10 comments, I'll drop the continuation in the next few hours. Comment, "I want episode 2, and share with anyone who needs to know what happens next. Will Jihoon be able to protect his family? Will Seojun win? And what is the secret that Amara still hasn't revealed? Comment below, let's hit the goal together.